seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Oh, the man is out on the field.
That's another knockdown. He's not getting up, Jim. He got up.
You believe in miracles? Yes.
You are now listening to the All Things Sport Podcast with your hosts, Daimeon Banks and Pierre Banks on Spreaker Radio. Fellas, you know what to do.
What up, what up? This is the All Things Sport Podcast. I'm Pierre Banks. My co-host, Daimeon Banks, will be out today because he has a little more pressing matter at hand. He's in the hospital right now with his lovely wife, LaShawn, as she is in the midst of giving birth to their first daughter, Loxley Banks. So please keep Big Bro and his wife in your prayers. Daimeon, thinking about you, man. Hope everything goes well. LaShawn, praying for you. Hope everything goes well with the birth and everything goes smooth. Bringing another Banks into this world is a beautiful thing. And so we'll be missing you all day today, Big Bro. Got a great show for you today. I'll be joined on the line by New York Giants tight end and University of South Carolina graduate Jerell Adams. Now in OTAs, getting ready for, believe it or not, football season coming up in just a couple of months. I also end the show today with the top 5 list, the top 5 players in the NBA today, in my humble opinion, of course. But let's go ahead and get started. The All Things Sport Hot Topic. Big week in sports. NHL playoffs rages on. The Washington Capitals still can't get over that Pittsburgh hump. They've been sent packing and they're done for the year after an outstanding year. Best record in the National Hockey League, yet they are sent home early. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Alexander Ovechkin may never get his Stanley Cup unless he joins forces with Sid the Kid later on down the line and pulls a LeBron James type move. Something like that. But as of right now, it's not looking good for Alex Ovechkin. Of course, you got the NBA playoffs going on. Tim Duncan may have played his last game of his career against the Oklahoma City Thunder. A lot of people getting on Timmy Duncan in this series, saying how ineffective he was and basically trying to blame Tim Duncan for the Spurs not winning the series. Not sure if I agree with that. Tim Duncan had a great regular season. He was even having a pretty good playoffs until he ran into the Thunder and the best hair in the National Basketball Association and Steven Adams just hitting the boards, period, really did the Spurs in this series. And I'm a man, so let me just go ahead and say it. I'm a fat dude in a cutoff tank top. I was dead wrong. I was the one that said that the Spurs were going to breeze through the series. I was the one that said that Oklahoma City showed that they really didn't have anything for the Spurs after game 2. Even though they won that game. I was the guy that had all the faith in the world and Greg Popovich and the veteran leadership that the Spurs have. And I believe if they were playing anybody other than the Thunder or the Warriors in this series, they would have won it. But they ran into a buzzsaw. They ran into a team who has been playing well all season long. They ran into a team who would have won way more games than they've won, except they've gotten to the fourth quarter and gave up a lot of leads. And not small leads, big time leads, double-digit leads. And I just didn't see them turning things around in this series on this stage against the Spurs. But once again, I was dealt a Burke in a halter top. I was dead wrong. Salute to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Salute to Russell Westbrook, one of the most dynamic players in the NBA. And, of course, the menace, the Durantula, Kevin Durant, doing his thing all series long. Those guys really stepped it up after games 1 and 2. Didn't show up at all in game 1. Game 2 had pretty decent games for superstar standards. And then from games 3 on, it was really no stopping those guys, man. And they proved why they are two of the top players in the league. Billy Donovan stepped into one of the greatest jobs that had to be offered on this earth. I mean, you step into a role to where you have a team that has been successful for years. I mean, this is a team that's been to the Western Conference Finals 4 out of the last 6 years now. This is the team that has, at worst, 2 of the best 10 players in the NBA. Serge Ibaka down low. Steven Adams emerging this season. Dion Waiters coming off the bench now, making that team a lot better. Roberson had the game of his life in Game 6. So I'm pretty envious of Billy Donovan right now. I mean, you get a couple national championships at the collegiate level with the likes of Joakim Noah, Brewer, and Horford. And then step right into a job just as Steve Kerr did. Steve Kerr did the same thing, stepped into a role where it was ready-made for him to be very successful. Please believe that Mark Jackson did a heck of a job building that team before Steve Kerr took over. Please believe Scott Brooks did a heck of a job putting that team together before Billy Donovan took over. But as they say in some urban sectors, them's is the breaks. And Oklahoma City Thunder are moving on to the Western Conference Finals to take on the Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors, who have the now 2-time reigning MVP, as predicted by so many, Steph Curry, who is just playing out of his mind this season and at this point of his career. Gonna come back to Stephen Curry, talk about him picking up his second MVP award in a row. But let's first go to the Eastern Conference, where King James, LeBron James, and the Cleveland Cavaliers sit and wait for the winner of the Toronto Raptors or the Miami Heat. 2 teams that strike absolutely no fear in their heart. I don't think they are worried about whoever comes out of their game. One team is scared to death to be in that situation, the Toronto Raptors, and the other team is happy, the Miami Heat. Dwayne Wade playing great basketball right now. I mean, turning back the hands of time. Looks like the flash of old. Hassan Whiteside, emerging superstar, not quite on that superstar level, but emerging at this point and only getting better. But they're playing without their best player. They're playing without the $100 million man in Chris Bosh. Eric Spoelstra still doing a great job on the sidelines. But they just don't have enough to beat Cleveland. And they may not have enough to beat the Toronto Raptors. That remains to be seen. And we may get the answer to that tonight as the two do battle in Miami later on this evening. Game 5, big game for the backcourt of the Toronto Raptors. We talked a little bit about them on the show last week and how Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan just weren't stepping up to the level that their team needed them to be at in order to win ball games. Well, they did the exact opposite in Game 5. Kyle Lowry, still not an overly impressive game, had 25 points on 25 shots, hit 9 of those shots, but DeMar DeRozan went off. 50% from the floor, 34 points. DeMar DeRozan was a man possessed in Game 5. And Miami didn't have an answer. And if those two can play well and Miami misses enough shots and they get tired late in the game and Toronto has some confidence and some momentum, which they need to win each and every game, again, they just look so nervous to be in this position. But I will say this for the Toronto Raptors. At this point, they are starting to loosen up a little bit. I mean, this will be the 6th time they played this team. You know, this is their 2nd playoff series. They look comfortable, or more comfortable than they have been in the past. The first series, not comfortable at all. And we talked about it. once they made it past that point, their confidence level rose. And it's almost as if they got that monkey off their back. Now playing a little more loose, getting into the game, and poised to make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Can they close out the game tonight? Remains to be seen. But if they can't close it out tonight, they've always got that Game 7. But when you're playing against Dwayne Wade in the Game 7, it's a toss-up. Because there are points in Dwayne Wade's career where he's not going to lose. Where he's going to put it all on the line and do whatever it takes for his team to survive and advance. We'll see how this series plays out. But heading back to the now two-time reigning MVP, Stephen Curry. Steph Curry, you can't argue with him winning that award. As I said in the podcast last week and the week before that and the week before that, I fully expected him to win this award. Could this award have gone to other players? Probably. You could have gave the award to LeBron James. Probably could have gave the award to Kawhi Leonard. Some could make an argument about Russell Westbrook. Some are laughing as they hear me mention Russell Westbrook. But you can't argue with Stephen Curry taking home the most valuable player award. And LeBron James said it best.
You look at Steph's numbers. I mean, he averaged 30. I think he led the league in steals. He was 90, 50, 40, and they won 73 wins. I mean, can you have really any debate over that, really, when it comes to that award?
You cannot argue with Stephen Curry taking home this award. Again, I think multiple guys could have been considered the most valuable player. But the reason Stephen Curry was most deserving of it is because when he was on the floor, the Golden State Warriors were darn near unbeatable. Off the floor, they showed some kinks in the armor. You know, they got to certain points in the game where they would go through droughts, couldn't put the ball in the basket, didn't have that same flow. But with him on the floor, they were able to do amazing things, set records. Again, 73 wins in a season. No one else has done it. And there were some games to where the Golden State Warriors, very close games with their opponents. But there were even more games where they would completely blow their opponents out. And Stephen Curry was the catalyst in that. He's revolutionized the game. The game has yet to see someone who can create his own three-point shot the way that Stephen Curry does. And you got to know this guy is a great basketball player. And we let him get away with so many things that we have just crucified other athletes for. The shimmying after making long three-point baskets, the supreme confidence, the taunting of other teams' benches, other teams' crowds. These are things that we have crucified other athletes for. These are things where we say you need to be humble. America likes their athletes to be great, but to be humble. Stephen Curry, for some reason, gets a pass on all this stuff. Just a testament to how good this guy really is. But I don't think that Stephen Curry is the best basketball player in the world. And again, it's just my humble opinion. But I'll get to that later on in the show. But spoiler alert, he's not going to be number one. And the reason that he's not number one is because, and don't get me wrong, is he the best offensive player in the game right now? Without question. Can he shoot the ball better than anybody right now? Cannot dispute that. But when I'm thinking about the best basketball player in the world, I'm looking at both sides of the ball. I'm looking at offense. I'm looking at defense. I'm looking at rebounding. I'm looking at assists. I'm looking at when you need a stop late in the game, can you put that player on the other team's best score? Don't think you could do that with Stephen Curry. Does he get in passing lanes? Without a doubt. Again, led the league in steals. But I'm not sure you can put him on Russell Westbrook at the end of the game and expect to stop. I know you can't put him on Kevin Durant at the end of the game and expect to stop. But there are other players in the National Basketball Association that you can do that with.